Hi, I'm Kristie Clayton, founder and visionary of ConvHERs. HER is an acronym for Helping Executives Rise. Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, where we dive into real, raw, and inspiring conversations with incredible leaders. You see, at ConvHERs, we're not just a community, we're a movement, a space where women leaders rise together, support one another, and celebrate our collective success. Whether you're leading as a second in command, steering the vision as the visionary or founder, or driving impact with your company as a leadership team member, ConvHERs was designed for you. Our mission is to provide resources, coaching, and peer support that you need to grow confidently in your leadership journey. Through memberships like Female Executive Mastermind and the Lead Her community, along with events like workshops and summits, and even personalized coaching, we are here to help women embrace their strengths, overcome challenges, and truly thrive. And that's what ConvHERsations with Kristie is about too. It's a space to share the golden nuggets of wisdom that come from authentic, heartfelt, real conversations. There's no scripts, there's no fluff, just honest insights from leaders who are leading boldly and making an impact. See, I believe leadership isn't something you do alone. It's a journey we navigate, and we don't have to do that alone. We can do it together, because together we rise. Now, let's get started with today's conversation. I am confident you are going to love it. Adi, I'm so excited. Welcome to ConvHERsations. And would you love to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Well, Kristie, first of all, it's great to be here. Such an honor, and I'm excited about our conversation. So, introducing myself, my name is Adi. I am the founder of Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures for fast-growing companies that are lacking consistency.
I love it. You know, as a Kolbe 6771, my heart is like, oh, I love this conversation. So, Adi, tell me, where did this whole passion for process really start for you? Like, how did this all come about?
So I am an industrial engineer by trade, by profession. That's what I learned. That was my major in college. And then I started working as an industrial engineer. But I always had a passion of bringing order into things, especially chaotic things or things that are not organized. I love organizing and I love bringing order with a balance of structure and flexibility, because I also really like people. I am a people person. I love communicating. I love working with people. So it was that combination of understanding people and science that led me to study industrial engineering. And as I progressed through my career, I decided to open my own company. And I'm a very good strategist. And as I said, I love talking to people. I come up with bright ideas. And I started as a general business consultant. And I will tell my clients, you need processes. Okay, week will go by. Yeah, you need to document your processes. Okay. And then I see it doesn't get done. So I like to get things done, right? So I was going, okay, well, how about if I document it for you? Really? I said, yeah, I can do that. Let's try it out. And then I would interview them, extract information, and then create all these beautiful processes. I mean, I find beauty in processes, right? I mean, it is, you will agree, Kristie, right? I mean, they can be beautiful if they are well written. There is something nice to them, something aesthetic. So then I will write those processes for the client, and I was, oh, wow, this is amazing. Finally, we got that target accomplished. And then I saw that there is a niche for it, there is a need. And then I started getting more referrals and more clients were interested, and it grew into the organization that we are today, where I have a team of 15 technical writers, consultants, marketing, sales, etc. But that's how it started. I saw that there is a need for it. I mean, I knew that businesses needed processes. I knew that there is a need for well-written, documented processes that everybody can follow. But to fill the gap between knowing the need and the actuality of having them, that's where I discovered that niche and that need, and that's how it all started.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hey, Adi, I have a really interesting question, though, is at what point does a business need to start documenting their core processes?
There's a difference between need and they should, right?
Yes.
People should, need, or they should from the beginning, but is it really feasible? No. So it depends on this, on the type of business. We've worked with some startups that had money to invest, they had a capital to invest because they wanted to do it right from the beginning. But usually we work with established companies that have been already doing what they're doing for several years, because that's where now they want to scale and grow, and they need the processes. A company that is just starting, you have to prove your processes, you have to develop them, which we can help, of course. So even without us, they should develop some kind of processes, but they should concentrate on marketing, sales, because that's the start. You have to market and you have to sell, and then you start delivering, and then you see where the processes need improvement, they need optimizing, and that is the right time to start documenting.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I've heard, a lot of people are like, I don't know when to start, right? And I think you're right. Sometimes as a startup, if you document them, you definitely have to be flexible, right? There's a lot of exploration in this particular part of your business of trying to figure out what does work and what does not work. And if you become rigid to your, like, this is the way we do it because this is the way the process is documented, it can actually harm you.
Correct. You have to have the flexibility. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would love to talk about one more thing too, because we oftentimes hear that, well, and this is my personal observation, is you either have a person who's like super excited about processes and they love it, or you have someone who doesn't, right? And so people who love it, like what are they gaining from having them documented and all of that?
Well, I think, if it's done correctly, then people do appreciate it. People that want to be productive and want to be successful, they do appreciate it. I'm going to answer your question, but I just going to answer it in answering the other part of people that don't like it. Why don't they like it? Because it might have been too rigid, right? So I think that why people like them is because it gives you the structure to succeed. It makes it clear. It gives clarity, it gives predictability, it gives consistency, it gives order. And I think we all like it. What we don't like, because we can analyze what we like by analyzing first what we don't like.
Yes.
What is it that we don't like? Or people say, oh, procedures or processes, I don't want to touch that. Is because probably at some point in the past, they were made to follow a process that maybe did not make sense to them. Perhaps they will follow a process that they felt was not applicable to the circumstances. Maybe it wasn't modernized enough. Maybe it was something that this is the way we've always done it, so this is why I'm demanding from you to doing it without really having a real explanation behind it. So when all of that happens, it creates a problem because somebody is not motivated to use it because it's being forced on them. But in order to be successful, even if you're super creative, and I interviewed many creative people on my show. Kristie, you're super creative. Look at you, everything you create around you. But where would you be without a process? Your day will be chaotic. So if you're a person that likes chaos just for the sake of chaos, then you probably are not going to be successful, probably not even listen to this show to this conversation, because this is not, you're not that type of person. But if you're listening and you go, okay, I did not like working for corporate America where I had all these SOPs that were so strict and there was no flexibility and there was no freedom and I wasn't really empowered, that's the problem. If you do this correctly, the common denominator of why people like the process is the same. Again, it's the consistency, the structure, the predictability. Who doesn't want to have predictability, that they know that if they do a good job, this is going to be the reward? But what does it mean to do a good job? The most frustrating thing is to think, oh, I'm going to do this, but this doesn't work for this company. So then you not get rewarded, although you spend so many hours. It just happened to me with a new employee that we brought on board. And he was thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this because it's a great idea. I've done it in my last company, but this is completely not what we do. So all it does, it just introduces confusion and chaos into our process. And although with the best intentions, to create something that will be good for all of us. It wasn't, because it just created a distraction, right? Because this is not what we do. We have a very specific way of how we do things. And it's not like we are not flexible and cannot change, but there has to be a reason for that change. Because if something is working, why are you introducing something without even testing it or without having a good reason why to change?
Yeah, agree. I see there's three things, right? There's consistency. There's consistency for your end user, like they're getting the same experience every time, which means that they can share who you are and what you do with someone else, right? And they'll get that same experience. But also consistency with your team members, right? Because they're supporting us in what we're doing. And if we're doing something different every time, that just creates chaos, like you said, right? So being able to have our team members like know exactly what we're going to do, what the process that I'm working on, and when I hand it over to you, what your process is, and then how you hand it to the next team member, and it continues down the flow. To me, that consistency is so important.
It's super important. And, it's the predictability, because we already have so many things during our day that are not predictable, that we have to hold constant what is predictable. So then it empowers the team, each and every person on the team, to create on what they need to be creating, as opposed to start creating everything, because it's impossible to create everything, right? I mean, you have to have the predictability of what you know, and then add that you don't know and develop into something that you know on top of what is predictable.
I love that, right? Because the consistency and the predictability means that you're also scalable, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because, the complaint that I hear, or I don't know if it's complaint, but the pain point, however you want to call it, the challenge of many entrepreneurs is they want to clone themselves, or there's not enough hours in the day, or they went into business to have the freedom, but now they're being slaves to the business.
Yeah.
The way to extract yourself from that situation is by gradually creating predictable systems. Then you can elevate yourself outside of the systems, use the systems to continue what is working, so you have time to create new things.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And you brought up my third thing, which is freedom, right? I think sometimes I'm going to put my own personal visionary hat on for just a second and think about, there are times that I have witnessed where other visionaries that I've been speaking with say, oh gosh, processes, like, it's almost like handcuffs, right? But it's really, truly not. When you have processes that work, and I think that's the key component, that work, it's actually freedom.
It is absolutely freedom. I've interviewed many, I spoke to so many, our clients and people that I interview on my show, and, speaking to entrepreneurs, when you get that reaction, you have to really dig in, like, why? It's the mindset. And that's the number one thing that needs to happen in order to have good processes and procedures, or create a process-driven culture, is to find out the why processes are important. Or in the case that there's such an adverse reaction, why processes are creating that reaction in you.
Yeah.
What is happening? Tell me. Oh, I had somebody working for me and they enforced this and this and this, or this didn't work, or they weren't flexible enough. Okay, good. So let's really see what didn't work, and let's figure out how we can make it work. But because something didn't work, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't use it.
Exactly.
And look, I also understand the personality. Although I'm really process oriented, and I have a company where we document processes and procedures. And at the beginning, I used to do it myself. Of course, now I have staff that does it. What really energizes me and I feel the best is when I go out to networking meetings and I meet people, or when I interview people on my podcast, or when I write my blogs, or when I go out there and talk to other entrepreneurs. I love that. That really energizes me. Sitting in front of the computer, it's not so much. But when I see something missing in our internal processes, and I go and I correct it, and I use my staff, that's the key thing. It's not myself, just me. I use it as a collaborative approach with my team, and we can come up and we solve the problem. And then I write the procedure. And there is something really energizing about that as well, because you're solving a problem and you're solving it in the right way.
Yeah.
For instance, I'll give you an example. Today we encountered something broke in our system. We have a great system on how to deliver to our clients, and we have a client that is very amazing clients, amazing company, but they introduced a challenge that we didn't have to deal with before, and it broke the system because it overloaded two of my staff members, and they said, hey, this is we had to extend our hours, we had to work extra, we are delivering here more than usual. So we took a look at it and we go, okay, what happened here? Is it a people problem, a process problem? So it was a little bit of a people problem because there was one of our consultants wanted to over deliver, which we always want to over deliver, and we want to do a great job, but it's sometimes it becomes too much because it overloads everybody else. Yes. Because the process was not followed. So then we pull out the process, we looked at the process, we go, okay, yes, I understand why the process was not followed because this client is a little bit different. So what do we need to do here? And we adjusted it just a tweak because we encountered a new situation, but everybody was so happy, including the client. It was a win-win situation because we were proactive and not reactive, but we didn't just toss the process because we said, oh, now it's not working. No, let's really figure out what are the exact points that we tweak. And we did that, and it was beautiful. It just creates that harmony inside the organization.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And you brought up a great question or a great statement that I would love to ask and kind of extend a little bit more in our conversation. I get asked a lot, putting my integrator hat on now, is how often should I be reviewing processes, right? I know I have kind of a standard answer, but I would love, since you're kind of the guru here, Adi, what do you suggest here?
So my suggestion is, it depends. I know we don't like that answer, but this is the answer. It depends on the maturity of the process. If you have a company that you have mature processes, then once a year, it's okay to review the processes. I would suggest break it down into rocks, into quarters, so you don't review all the processes all the time. And we do it every quarter. You take 2 departments. Let's say you have 12 departments, however departments you have. 10, let's say 8 departments, divide by 4, 2. Okay, so 2 each quarter, and that's it, and you're done. And we have a great checklist on how to review processes. And if our listeners want, just make a note here, and put a comment in LinkedIn, and I'll send it to you, or email me. We just follow the checklist. Just check. Everything is in place, done. Revise the processes, review it, and it's done. Now, if you have a process that you just implemented, then I would suggest to review it quarterly, maybe monthly, to make sure it works until you've proven that process is workable. And then you can put it into the cadence of maybe every quarter, every 6 months. So you really have to evaluate. And that's another thing, Kristie, you see, it's not a science like, okay, every 2 weeks we do that. It's not. It's every you have it according to what the process demands, and how the process is working for you. And if there are some kinks that you have to fix, then you have to look at it more often.
Yeah, I agree. And I would just add one more thing, because I totally agree with everything you just said. That's exactly what I tell my clients too, right? At a minimum, make sure you're reviewing it once a year. That way you know that the written process is still the process that's being done. And then the one thing that I would add to what you just said is, if it's broken, review it, right? Like you said, you found something in your own process, right? Don't wait until a certain time. Like if you're witnessing something's not working, immediately go to process and see, like, where is the breakdown not happening? Like, where did we miss the mark?
Exactly, because this is the key in making sure that processes are being followed by all, is utilizing them during day-to-day operations. Because you hear it from clients, they go, oh, yeah, I have my processes documented, but I can't get my people to follow it. Well, it's not your people problem to follow it. It's the culture of what does it mean follow them? Sometimes I ask, well, okay, did you have your team read the processes? Oh, I don't think so. Well, if you didn't have them read them, how they can follow it? So that's number one. You have to read them. But then you have to start using them, because we're only going to follow something that we see that is applicable and usable. Yeah. If you write something and we have our processes documented, but then it's completely disconnected from day-to-day operations, we have a problem. Because then we are writing it and it's something nice. Oh yeah, we checked, we have processes documented, but you have to make sure they're being followed by actually using it in the day-to-day. So anytime you have an issue, let's say you have a meeting every week and you review issues and you discuss issues. Okay, so then if there is an issue, I always ask, where is the process? Show me the process. It just cuts down on the time of reviewing issues so fast because you can look at the process and you can assess if it's a process problem, a people problem, or both. And then you resolve it because you can pinpoint exactly what to resolve. It's kind of like the analogy I like to give is you go to the doctor and you go, well, I have a pain in my back. Oh, well, it can be that, or it can be that, or you should try this, or you should try that. Or, we can take an x-ray and then they put the x-ray on the wall and they go, oh yeah, you see, it's right here. This is what's wrong. And we can do this and this and that. So, I know it's not as simplistic in medicine, but that's like an analogy in terms of like, let's put the x-ray on the wall. Let's take a look at the process and let's pinpoint exactly what is missing, what is not done correctly. People might have disagreements. We might need to tweak something. It makes things very simple to actually manage the business.
Agree. I could not agree more. Hey, listen, friend, I knew we could have a lot of fun having this conversation. And I love process, so I feel like we could talk about it forever. But also, like the one thing that I don't know how familiar you are with Kolbe, but as someone who's I'm a Kolbe enthusiast, like I love Kolbe. And one of the things that it really hones in and focuses on is the second number is people who love like process, right? But there are really kind of three types of people. One group is the initiating, follow through that loves to create process, right? They love to go in there, do all of the creation. I imagine you were probably high on that particular score. Then there's a group that just loves to maintain it, right? They're like, hey, it's working. They'll bring up if it's not working. They love that maintaining. But I will tell you, sometimes the people that I appreciate the most are the ones that are reactive in this particular area, because they're like, it's too much, or it's like there's something not working with it, right? But what I love about Kolbe is you can really identify like all three types of people to make sure that your process is well documented, but also it's not too much, too rigid. And you can really see all three people thriving using processes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. Adi, thank you so much. I knew this was going to be a fun conversation. And you know how I love to end our conversations with honor, empower, and inspire. So I would love to ask you, when you think about a woman of a past generation that you would love to honor and recognize, who comes to mind for you?
I'd like to honor and recognize my mother-in-law, which was a great inspiration for me. She was a great mother. She was an author. She was an artist. She was a great woman that had a lot of great qualities that I learned a lot from. So I definitely would like to recognize her.
Oh, I love that. What's her name?
Jody. She passed away a few years ago, but Adi Klevit.
I love it. Thank you for sharing her. And what about empower? Who is a woman of a current generation that either empowers you to be your absolute best self, or that you hope to empower?
I was thinking about the author Isabel Allende, who was she's one of my favorite authors. And I love reading her books because it's all about courage. It's about breaking the norms. It's about disagreeing with what other people think is right or not right, but living according to your own inspiration, according to your own integrity, which I think it's very good.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And then inspire. Who is a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
I would like to acknowledge the wonderful women that work for me, because I am truly inspired by them. Mm-hmm. And because, I like their curiosity. I like their willingness to change and to adapt. I like how they are thirsty for learning and they apply what they learn. So I want to acknowledge all the women on my team Of course, also the men. They're all great, but I'm really inspired by them, and especially the younger ones, of how their work ethics, how they work, etc. Which I think it's really inspiring to see that, because that's our future generation.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. What a great company that you have built where you get to inspire each other. Congratulations, friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, again, Adi, thank you for so much for being here. I've enjoyed our conversation. And I know you and I could probably talk about processes for days and days and days, and then still have more to talk about, right?
Absolutely. And forever we can talk about it.
Exactly. Well, y'all, thank you for joining in this week. I can't wait to see you again next week.